and welcome to our podcast. My name is Natasha.
And my name's Lauren.
Join us as we discuss all things Neighbours.
And it's unfinished business. Hello and welcome to episode 18.
Yes, welcome. And what a crazy 2 weeks we've had.
We definitely have, haven't we? Yes. As always, we're going to be discussing the last 2 weeks of episodes, but we'll also be talking about some of the most shocking moments surrounding the babies on Ramsay Street.
Yeah, we've had some crazy births and scandals, but first let's talk about the last 2 weeks of episodes.
Yes, indeed. Right, okay, where do we start? I suppose we should start with where we left off. Haz getting hit by Mac in the car.
Yay! Oh, I was... Oops.
I didn't think that's how we were going to start off this episode. Anyway, yeah, Tash is clearly very happy about that. Yeah, so Haz has been hit. It just made me laugh because, like, he was like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm gonna get up. I'm okay." And then all of a sudden, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm not okay. Oh my God, he's not breathing." Carl's like, "Oh shit." It's when he went to the hospital and he's like, "It's really serious." I was like, "Oh my God, like get a grip." Like it wasn't that bad. He like hit the car in like slow motion.
I mean, he's a creep in real life, but like in the show. But
Yeah.
even in a coma, he's like a pussy, I guess, when it comes to drama.
Dear me. Yeah, so Haz is in a coma. His friends have learnt of his accident. Yeah, Mac, I felt really sorry for her, like in a way, because like obviously the last time that she was in a hospital in that situation was obviously
Yeah.
when Hendrix obviously passed away.
Mhm.
And it was really sad when she was like, I can't get through this again, somebody that I love. And I was a bit like, love? Like, could you compare her relationship with Haz to what you had with Hendrix? Like, they
But
don't.
also the drama and the lead up to it.
Mm.
Like, she was quite pissed off with him. So I was just like, hold on, like, why why is this such a big deal? And I understand it might have been a trigger,
Yeah,
being in hospital and stuff and all of that because of Hendrix, but I was like, really? Do you care
yeah,
about it that much?
yeah. Bit intense. What I did really love though, is that the Byron and Sadie trying to like sneak
Yeah.
Trevor into the hospital, which I thought was really cute. And I did love the fact that Remy was okay with it because obviously
Mhm.
they're like with got dogs coming all the time to help people, whatever. Um, yeah, and then we've got this big whole thing of like Max now having to put everything on hold for Haz because she wants to reopen Harold's. And everyone's now helping out and stuff, and I'm like, how do these people just suddenly are able to like help out and like drop everything? And like, yeah, it's just like soap plans. You're like, how do these things just
I
like
mean,
work out okay? Like everyone's free to help out, and like Harold is buzzing again all of a sudden.
what Alan said, didn't he? He said, "Oh well, 'cause when we queried about him not doing any shifts at Erinsborough Hospital, he
Yeah,
said, well, he's working in the background. When you don't see him, he's actually doing shifts."
that's where he is. He's at
So,
Harold's, isn't he? Baking in the kitchen.
so yeah, obviously someone's filled in, maybe managed to swap shifts, and I guess we just have to kind of fill in the gaps.
Oh dear. Right, moving on. Let's go to okay, the big scandal I'd say this week, Paul and Chelsea.
Hmm.
So obviously, um, Paul has seen that Toadie and Therese are rekindling things, and in a turn of events or feelings, I suppose, whether how genuine they are or not, I don't know. He asks Chelsea to propose again, and they decide to get engaged. Um, but I think like deep down, you see him when he's in the penthouse. I'm like, Paul knows that he's making a mistake, and he's basically lying to himself about the way he feels for Chelsea, and the fact that he had to put that photo of him and Therese in the bin, was just a move that he did because Chelsea was there, I suppose. Um, yeah, and then the um before the engagement party, Chelsea entices Paul into sleeping with her. Now, this is something that has been rumored for a while and
Mhm.
something no, she's been trying to do, but we think there might be potential pregnancy coming up at some point. Um, now, Krista, on the meantime, has suddenly, not suddenly, but started to get her memory back after the fall, and suddenly remembered something that Chelsea said to the night that night that she fell and hit her head. And she queries Penny, the what
Mhm.
was she maid in the hotel,
Yeah.
finds out that actually Chelsea was the one that sent her away because obviously to cover her own back. She obviously meets with the tech guy who appears at the party in front of them all, saying, about I thought we had something, and it all comes out that obviously Chelsea was the one that locked. I was going to say Reese, then, my goodness, that locked Krista in the sauna, causing her to lose her baby. And obviously, then Paul um, asks Chelsea to leave. Yeah, so that all comes out eventually. But though I was annoyed, it wasn't as much as a drama as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a little bit more explosive than that.
Mhm.
What did you think about that? Like the way
Um,
it all came out and stuff.
I mean, I liked it, although I just didn't feel that. Yeah, like for how long this has taken to get to this point,
Yeah.
I expected there to be more drama. I did feel like Paul was very reserved.
Mm.
Like he basically just took the ring and then said something to her and then walked off.
But I think, and that was later on when he was like in the penthouse or when he was talking to Leo in the waterhole.
Mm,
That's him being hurt because he's like, how have I let somebody else do this to me? Or how have I let my feelings get this way about somebody else and be hurt again
mm.
or get myself in this
But
situation?
Paul can be very venomous with his tongue. So
Yeah.
like I feel like maybe it's to come. Maybe
Oh,
there's
that,
going
yeah.
to
Oh,
be
100%. I think there's something still to come. And it
'cause-
might again be around the whole pregnancy thing if she comes back because we see her in the hotel. She looks at pregnancy test when she's packing all her
Mhm,
and stuff to go. And then obviously Cara comes in and interrupts her and she
mhm,
quickly hides it. So if that's what's to come, then potentially there's going to be some sort of bad blood there, and Paul's obviously going to lose his shit.
mhm.
So,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, I just wanted to see him lose his shit. Um,
and be
but
the Paul that we love.
yeah, like yeah, but yeah, I think that there's probably going to be more to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so this situation has obviously led Krista to be like, well, why the hell did I not let Leo support me throughout all my
Mhm,
like stuff that was
mhm,
going on? And she tries to obviously kiss him, and Leo actually backs away. Um, Paul plans then to try and get them back together, which obviously then backfires because Leo sees it all happening and is like, no, it's not happening. Um, like, do you feel like Leo's right for saying to Krista, no, like David warned me, I shouldn't have got
yeah,
involved
because
in the situation.
yes, so he shouldn't have got involved with her when she was so early on in her recovery. Um, but then also you've got a kid. So you've also got to think about what's her potential of relapse.
Mm,
And, if he had allowed her to go through that recovery program and then decided, but then also she's proven to him by not going to him when she was very close to relapsing.
yeah,
It's just proven the fact that, well, she can't do it and she can't really be around Abigail.
yeah,
And I mean, I think from spoilers, we've seen that they do get back together eventually, I think. Um, but he shouldn't
yeah,
because if she ends up when she's got, the drug dealers sniffing around as well,
Mm.
Like, it's not. I
Unless
don't know
she's
if she,
gonna do, yeah, unless she has to do some serious work on herself.
yeah, but she can only do that whilst,
Not
because
not
that's,
in a
yeah,
relationship,
she was
yeah.
using him as a crutch. "Oh, yeah, I feel better because 'cause you're making me feel good, Leo," but, like, when something bad happens, like, obviously, that traumatic experience she's had, then do you know what I mean? She's gonna
Do
spiral
you
because
think
she's
then,
leaning on him, not leaning on herself.
yeah, well, do you think then, had her pregnancy gone full term and she'd had the baby and her and Leo were a thing, do you think then at some point further down the line something would have happened that would have made
Um,
them fall apart, or would it have like,
Potentially, but I think no, because I feel like that would have been, like, 9 months down the line,
mm,
whereas this was still fairly raw. It was only a couple of months back
yeah,
that she got herself sorted,
yeah,
so I don't know. I feel for her because I honestly have really warmed to her character,
mm,
and I really want the best for her, and, it was really, really horrible what happened to her, but then, with Leo, his daughter comes first,
yeah,
so
yeah, no, definitely. Um, Moving on to Therese and Toady. They seem to have slipped very quickly back into being okay with each other again, haven't they?
I just I d I don't really know what the writers are doing because I just thought I'm not saying that they should have animosity towards each other and be at each other's throats, but you'd think there'd be a slower burn into being on good terms.
Mm, yeah,
It
weird.
just it just feels too quick.
And for Therese to be like, "Oh, like, I'm okay with Mel now, like, Mel, stop trying to avoid us, like, go and speak to her and sort things out, and then
I
let's be
actually I
okay."
actually thought that was a lovely moment because it
Like,
was
it
like,
was, but, like,
but I don't know why, because at the end of the day, she knows at the end of the day, Toadie's her husband. So,
yeah,
it's Toadie's fault, not necessarily Mel's fault. And, Mel wants to move on, and she can
yeah,
see that Mel wants to move on. So
yeah,
I don't think that's an issue. I think by Toadie going away, they haven't resolved anything.
no,
You think that if he's been away and had time to, get his thoughts together and to figure out what he wants, and he comes back and he knows what he wants, then he has to work for it. Why is
but
she
yeah, they
just
haven't actually
allowing
spent
him?
yeah, they haven't actually spent any moments
No,
actually discussing what happened and why he felt that way and all that kind of stuff. It's just kinda like, "Okay, we're just gonna try and be together now."
which means it's going to happen again.
Yeah, it's really
That's
odd. Yeah, really odd. I do love the fact that Mel's, like, back to herself, feeling good,
uh-huh,
and that she's
uh-huh,
gone off on this thing to do this drinks diva thing. I think
uh-huh.
that's really good, and, she's gonna come back in a good place, so that'd be interesting to see what she's like when she gets
Yeah, she
back.
just needs to stop, with the community service because the outfit's not great
I
for
mean,
her.
it's up now, that was her last one, so,
Perfect.
yeah, that's why
She'll be
she
back.
went
She'll be back to being
yeah,
colourful and flowery and.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So moving on to JJ.
Mhm,
So Cara, Remy, and Wendy obviously have organised this basketball event to try and cheer him up, etc. Because he's still got looming over his head whether he's going to be facing charges. Dex skives off school and joins them, but they then find out that there's going to be no record and it's all hunky dory, etc. Um, but they find a letter that's been returned from the prison that JJ has written to Felix, and Dex unfortunately overhears them talking and discussing, saying that they obviously um, asked Felix to stay away from him, and he goes and tells JJ, and obviously he absolutely flips out at them, which I suppose he kind of like has every right, because at the end of the day he just wants to know his dad and why he came back into his life and all that kind of stuff. Um, and I was like, are Cara and Remy doing the right thing? I was
mhm,
even like, I don't know how I'd feel in that situation if I didn't know my dad was, and then all of a sudden he came back onto the scene, regardless of what he'd done, whether he was this bad man. I'd at least want to know like some answers to where you've been and why you haven't been in my life, etc.
mhm,
Um, yeah, and then obviously, um, Felix reaches out because he's been unwell, and Nell overhears this conversation with Andrew and says, "Well, Andrew's going to the prison today to visit him. Why don't you go, JJ?" And obviously, JJ boycotts the prison visit and ends up going and learning um, how Felix, I suppose, really feels. And both him and JJ, both Andrew and JJ, seem to kind of get some answers and some closure on the situation. But I'm like, I don't feel like this is finished with.
It's your dad.
Like,
Like,
yeah. Because I like when Andrew was like to saying to Felix, like, tell him what he needs to hear, kind of thing. I was like, is he basically saying to him that you need to say horrible things to make him think that you don't want him in your life? Or act like, yeah, like I think there's a yeah, Felix does want to know him, I think. Because he wouldn't have spent that much time with
no,
him.
exactly.
Be curious and
Exactly.
stuff. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about the whole situation and like whether
Um,
they've done the right. Cara and Remy have done the right thing by him, and you know, it was a sweet moment. They all went and sat outside of him on the pavement, and they were like, saying like, we are all you've like ever known, etc. Like, you know, there is that understanding. We know that you'd want to know, but and what does Dex say? He says, he's completely different to me. Like, I get it. I've never wanted to know who my dad
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Like, you know, just because I don't doesn't mean that he doesn't want to know, kind
Mhm,
of
mhm.
thing. Um,
Yeah, that was a sweet moment. I thought Dex was really sweet there because, he said, well, just because I'm not bothered doesn't
mhm.
mean to say that he's not bothered.
Yeah,
But I understand why he would want to.
yeah,
So I think that might have softened them. But
yeah.
it's that whole thing where you don't want your kid to do something, your teen to do something. And the more you say no, 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 the more they want to do it.
Yeah.
And it's probably better to allow them to do it, but almost with supervised visits
Mm,
than, and be present for those conversations,
yeah.
perhaps, than to just shut it down because he's going to do it anyway and he's done it anyway.
Mm,
Um, and this is only going to, he's going to push you away and he's only going to become probably more delinquent, you know?
yeah.
So, and at the end of the day, he has his genes. So,
Yeah.
nature nurture debate there. But yeah, no, I think that what they need to do is they need to do it measured. They need to be okay, well, we'll allow these visits and you can go and see him, but one of us will have to be present.
Mm, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think it's not the last we'll see of him.
No.
I think it's going to appear later down the line.
Mm.
Um, just whilst talking about Vargo Murphy's, Remy in this new job. Now, that odd guy at the hospital,
Yeah.
I'm like,
There's
what's
something up there, yeah.
what's his deal? And
Mm.
where's this storyline going?
He's got creepy vibes.
Yeah. So there's something interesting that's about to happen there. Um, so let's move on to Carl and Susan. Now, I mean, we'll go to Susan first. Susan obviously is very nervous this week about starting her first day at the new job of Irene Rising with Therese. And obviously, after her first day, realizes actually, have I taken on too much? And can I work with Therese? Because Therese has just gone in straight away. I mean, Therese at the end of the first day thought, oh my God, this is amazing. I'm so happy. Whereas Susan, on the other hand, was like, what the hell have I done? And then obviously you see the clash on the second day, where Therese has completely changed Susan's, her workflow chart, her timetable, and I think Therese realizes her mistake. So what's going to go down there? Is it going to be resolve itself, or are we going to see a big clash
No, I
between
think there's
the
going to
two of
be a
them?
big clash because they've never worked in any capacity together. It's always been neighbours, friends. Um, and, the way that Therese works is very almost like crack the whip.
Yeah.
So, and I think, Susan's approach is always very soft. It's always like, you know, we're not going to be firm until we absolutely need to.
Mm,
So I think this is just going to be a complete clash of work personalities. Um, yeah, bit of drama.
yeah.
And then it's probably going to end up being Toadie and Carl being involved trying to
Yeah, because you
resolve
could
it.
see
And
that moment in the pub where they both were stood there and they were like, "So yeah, how's it going? How's it going?" And they both just lied through their teeth that everything was okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So talking of Carl, um, yeah, bike club actually cracks me up. Like he's just so comical. Like I love the fact that he got Aaron involved in it as well, but like the fact that he goes over to confront those guys because he thinks that they're talking about him, and then they just turn out to be just admiring his helmet. And then they obviously are like, well, Aaron can join us because he's younger than 40 or whatever it is. And then obviously they're really horrible to Carl. I feel really sorry for him. I'm like, who's gonna give Carl a break? Like, what do they call themselves? I've written it here. The young and hot men in lycra. Was what the YHM what IL or whatever it was called or something. And I was like, oh honestly. He was so gagging to be part of their crew as well. He was like, they look really cool. That's what I want our bike club to be. And I was just there like, absolutely
Yeah, no.
not. So some comedic scenes from Carl this week. Lastly, we'll go because this is how we've ended this week. Nicolette's and Byron's dad has come into
Hmm.
town. Byron is not too impressed with this situation, and neither is Jane, on the other hand, because we learn that throughout their marriage, all Vic has done is ask people for money, basically, and claim that he is obviously has no money until he's done like a deal. Find out that he's sold some heirloom of Jane's grandmother's to, pay for stuff. Um, and wants to crash on Byron's couch, um, and then starts telling both Byron and Nicolette that they need to better themselves and use their qualifications and all this kind of stuff. Um, and it's like fair play to Byron. I was like, I'm so glad that he put him in his place and told him,
Hmm.
and Nicolette, to be fair, hang on a minute, you've not been around for ages. You just can't suddenly appear and start telling me how you think I should live my
Yeah.
life. Um, but prior to this, we've actually seen that he actually does have money in an account. And I'm like, where is this money? Why has he appeared suddenly now with money? Why is he questioning what his
But he
kids are
also said, I'm not getting any younger,
Yeah. So
getting
I'm like,
older, and I want to see the people that I love. So I'm thinking, is he dying?
yeah, that's what I thought. Because I'm like, is he gonna give that money to them when he dies? But obviously, so Sadie's now seen this money in his
Mhm.
account. And obviously he's had a go at her and said, "You can't tell Byron anything." So I'm like, "Oh, what's to come of this?"
Yeah.
A bit intrigued about what trouble he
It
potentially
might
might
it might be
face.
that Sadie confronts him and then she learns of his secret and says, please don't tell them. I don't want to know. I don't want them to make a fuss. And maybe that's what, and they'll have a little secret together.
Oh, well, I don't want to see her get into something like that.
Wow. She's already in it. She saw the money.
Yeah, but Byron walks in at an opportune time. He knows that something's going down between them.
Hmm.
So I'm like, how can she hide that? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I mean that's all we've got for this week on
The only
those.
other thing to add really is I can't believe, which has gone around the socials and I agree, how Holly got away with using the word arsehole.
Oh,
I
you
was like, and
asshole!
it was not asshole, arsehole, because, the Aussies like to do it like the Brits.
I love
Um,
that. But
but
also her mum's is her mum English? No, her mum's not English, is she? But she lived in
no,
lived
she lived in, yeah. So she
in
would have
London.
said yeah, because she lived in the UK, her
Yeah,
natural reaction would be to use arsehole, not
arsehole.
asshole. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I was just like, people said, oh, but it's like supposed to be a daytime show, but actually it's on Amazon Freebie.
Yeah. I
daytime
know, I
anything.
heard it and I was like, oh,
That is like really, really like, I don't even know if they've used any rude words. I mean, maybe that should be another episode where we, you know, go
find out.
through the insults and
Yeah.
the rude words of Erinsborough.
Yeah. That's weird, isn't it? Oh, just another thing, side note as well, because I've just looked at my phone. I took a screenshot of it. Like, obviously, we haven't seen Haz's sister
Yeah,
arrive yet, but she's arriving next
yeah,
week, I think,
yeah,
because of obviously he's him being in a coma now. And I
yeah.
don't think Mac is well liked to begin with.
Okay.
I think from what I can see, Haz wakes up, but Max kind of pushed to the side a little bit. But I saw see on their Instagram page earlier about this new cast member,
Hmm.
Matthew
Yeah,
Baker or
yeah.
Baker. He plays Logan and he's due to show up. Logan has a mysterious connection to someone on Ramsey Street, and I'm like, who? Because I was trying to look, and I was like, well, you can't really see because of the light, but I'm like, who does he
Yeah.
like look like? Like, is he relation to
I
somebody or
mean,
something?
Pierce.
No.
Pierce number one.
Yeah, but I don't even think no, he's not even that good looking. Definitely not as much as Pierce is. But anyway, we all know my thing for Pierce. But yeah, I'm like, who's this now? Like, why are all these new characters coming in? Who's he connected to? I want to know. Anyway, I'm sure we'll find out soon. Right, so time to talk about some drama. And the reason I decided this was going to be a good one for this week was because, as mentioned in our last segment, I have a feeling that Chelsea may come back pregnant or with a baby.
Now that would be a scandal, but let's talk about some old ones.
Yes, let's do that. Right. So, okay, first I want to talk about baby Gabe. So this is obviously Paige and Jack's baby. So firstly, we know that he was conceived in a shed in the middle of the bush after the balloon crash. What a way to be conceived, hey? Secondly, Paige lies to her family actually, and she says that David is the father. They pretend that they've had like some one night stand because she doesn't want to tell everyone that the priest. Oh no, not the priest. The priest can't have. I can't have slept with the priest anyway. So Paige ends up in a car crash and has to be freed from this car by Tyler. And then she also drinks tea that's been left at the backpackers and it contains mushrooms. Now, like, wow, the drama already. My goodness, how is this baby surviving? And lastly, she returns to the shed where he was conceived, and that is actually where Gabe is actually born. So what a place, one, to be conceived and two, to be born in a shed in the middle of the bush. Um, Gabe later becomes unwell on Christmas Day, and whilst Paige tries to take him to a mental centre, not mental,
No.
medical centre, he is kidnapped in Paige's car by Hamish Roach's lover, Louise. Now, Louise is caught by the police, but she won't tell them where Gabe is. But eventually, he ends up being put on the front door by some unknown person, who we eventually learn is Cassius, Hamish's son. Like, wow. Like how many different things can like happen to Paige and Gabe in this? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, drama. Right. Who's next?
So next, let's talk about Patrick Vellante.
Mm,
So he was the result of a one-night stand between Lucas Fitzgerald and Vanessa Vellante. Not
mm.
sure if I'm saying that right.
Think you
Um,
are.
Patrick seemed healthy, but bad news was just around the corner as it was confirmed that Patrick was suffering from a hole in the heart. Poor little thing. Patrick would need an operation to remove a small part of his heart, but it would be weeks or possibly months until he was strong enough to be operated on. He eventually has the operation, everything was fine. But then it gets worse. After weeks of plotting and after she stopped taking her medication, Steph Scully finally lost it and took
Your
Patrick.
favourite person.
Oh my God. And took Patrick from Ramsay Street, where Luke and Vanessa had joined their friends to watch the eclipse. Do you remember the eclipse?
Where it's where Kyle went
Yeah.
blind.
Yeah. Only in Ramsay Street. Um, believing that Patrick was her son Adam, who
Mm,
she'd given away not long before she went to prison,
mm.
Steph called Lucas and asked him to come and see her. And then she hoped that they could all be a family again.
Happy family.
With the police waiting nearby, Lucas finally managed to convince Steph to hand over the baby Patrick, and he was finally reunited with his parents. Thank God for that.
My goodness.
Honestly, Steph is scary when she's goes mental.
I know, and I can't believe everyone forgave her.
Oh, like she's had so many people forgive her for different things, and it's just like, really?
Yeah, and especially when children are concerned. Like we know the
Yeah,
her battles of all of her children and stuff.
yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to another baby. Right. I'll take this one because I know she's not your favourite person, but we've got to talk about baby Asta, now Ellie's daughter. So Asta is conceived after Ellie sleeps with Sean Watkins, and this is when she obviously cheats on Mark Brennan. Um, but Sean actually happens to be Finn Kelly's half brother.
Mm,
Interesting. So Sean realizes that he is the father of Ellie's baby when they are at the courthouse for one of Finn's things, and ends up blackmailing her into changing her victim impact statement and convincing the Kennedys to house Finn at their home. Um, Ellie, in the meantime, has managed to avoid having a 12-week scan so that Mark can't see. But he later catches her looking at like an ultrasound picture and assumes, obviously, that the baby's his. And Ellie obviously doesn't correct him, and she lies to him for multiple weeks. I think uses a scan photo of
mhm,
their Mark and Sonia's baby that
mhm,
passed
mhm.
away. Just like awful stuff that she does.
Yeah.
Anyway, um, Ellie obviously eventually tells Mark the truth about Sean and the baby. And she's obviously kicked out of the home and she has to move back in with the Kennedys. And eventually, obviously, tells the Kennedys about the baby's paternity, and that Sean's the father, and that is the reason why she asked Finn to live with them. Um, Finn, obviously, we start seeing them get a bit closer. Finn
Mhm.
actually helps deliver Asta, whilst Ellie is being held hostage by Robert Robinson in the
Crazy.
in the house. Now, all I need to say here is the island. That's all I
Mhm,
need to say.
mhm,
Really, isn't it?
mhm.
So, and these babies just seem to love being kidnapped. So Finn, at this point, when we've gone to the island, we all love the island episodes, one of our favourite times. Finn has obviously become madly in love with Ellie, and he has offered to, after bumping off B, has offered to accompany Ellie off of the island. Um, and she eventually, like, they're down at the beach, I think, and she realizes she finds B and Toadie's phones in Finn's backpack.
Mhm,
Obviously she realizes that, he's been deceiving, and she tries to run away with Asta. In the meanwhile, Finn is then obviously starting to chase her. um Ellie comes across poor Gary Canning's dead body in the
mhm.
woods and realizes that Finn is actually the one that's obviously killed him. um, Finn eventually corners her and again kidnaps Asta. And Ellie ends up being pushed down the mine, doesn't she?
Mhm.
Uh, Everyone gets off the island safely. Everything's fine, apart from obviously poor Gary. Um, and Ellie goes to find Finn and Susan at that cabin place,
Yep.
doesn't she? In the snowy mountains. And after she's rescued them, she obviously goes to find Finn to make sure. And I think she says, doesn't she, tells Susan that she's going to make sure that Finn cannot hurt any like them anymore. And she finds the fact that actually Finn is drowned in some makeshift grave that he was digging for Susan.
Mhm,
um, and the police turn up and she's found over his body. So it's assumed that she's the one that killed him. And she's later actually charged with his murder. So these charges are downgraded, but Finn's mum, Claudia, another person I really don't like,
Mhm.
she blackmails the judge into giving her a 3-year sentence so she can gain custody of Asta. Ellie ends up taking Asta into the prison, um, but Ellie is eventually saved when Andrea, another person we all love to hate,
Yep.
um, causes some problems for Ellie in the prison. And I think Ellie realizes that the only reason she's doing it is because she wants to get Hugo back, doesn't she?
Mhm.
So she gets found out and she gets called into the governor's office and told that she's actually being released because Claudia's blackmail charges have been found out.
Mhm.
Um, and then Ellie is reunited with Asta and Sean, and it's all happy families, blah 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 blah. Blah. Yeah. Anyway, so but these kids, like,
Yeah.
getting kidnapped, being
Yeah.
going into a prison, my goodness. Yeah, these children have been through a lot anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's one of our favourites, the island. But our other scandal, which we quite like, is this next one coming up.
This is why I let you read this one because I thought this is one
Um,
of your favourites. You like this one.
Definitely. So lastly, we're going to talk about Isla and Abigail.
Hmm.
Lots of drama with these two kiddies.
Yeah.
So Nicolette hears about the David and Aaron struggle to find a surrogate mother,
Hmm.
and offers to help. So
Yeah.
Nicolette gets herself involved with Aaron and David's foster kids, and then ends up getting herself caught up in an attempted robbery at the Hive. After Brent flees the scene, Holden pushes Nicolette into a heavy cabinet, which falls on top of her. Nicolette is in a state of frantic worry as she is trapped underneath it with abdominal pain and bleeding.
Yeah.
So we're thinking, oh my God, has she lost the baby? So she fears that, and but her maternal instincts kick in as she tries to do everything to save her baby. So following the incident, Nicolette decides to issue Aaron and David with an ultimatum that she chooses herself and their baby or their foster children. So when Nicolette discovers Chloe could have cheated on her and that Aaron and David lied to her about it, she punishes them by fleeing Erinsborough. Um, Paul goes to Canberra, I think. That's where Nicolette has been rumoured to be.
Yeah.
And he finds Nicolette,
Yeah.
and he is shocked to discover that she has already given birth. He then concocts a scheme to purchase Nicolette's baby for David and Aaron. So Paul offers Nicolette $1 million to hand the baby over and leave David and Aaron alone. Now, I do love this storyline because this meant Paul and Therese were pretty much no more after this when she
Yeah.
found out.
Hmm.
So it's actually a big storyline.
Yeah.
But Nicolette agrees, which is also very scandalous, and hands over the baby. I remember being like, oh my God, how could you sell your own baby?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so then we see a twist of events. She then, at the end of that episode, picks up another baby, and she, in fact, sold someone else's baby to Paul.
I remember that. I remember her
Shocking.
literally turning around, going over, picking up this baby, and I'm like, "What the
Shocking.
fuck? Whose baby is that?" Then she
Exactly.
goes something like, "Oh, my baby, I'd never let you go," or something like that. I'm like, who's
Yeah.
that baby she's just given to Paul?"
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
And
You're
also, the baby has to be half Japanese. So we're like,
yeah,
where are you going to
'cause they
find a
look the
half
same. Yeah,
Japanese
and
baby?
also at that point you think, "Fuck, has she had twins as well?"
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
anyway, yeah,
Well, quarter Japanese, technically.
yeah,
But anyway.
yeah.
Um, Paul returns with what we think is baby Isla and
Mhm.
hands it over to David and Aaron. And then scenes occur where Brittany Barnes arrives in Erinsborough and follows David and Aaron. She abducts Isla,
Yeah,
um, and then Ab- um, and then Levi finds Brittany and orders that she hand Isla back.
yeah.
Brittany reveals, though, that Isla is actually her daughter, Abigail, and that Leo is the father.
Dun, dun,
Oh my
dun.
God. Nicolette returns to Erinsborough with Isla to face the consequences of her scam. She reveals that she met Brittany during an antenatal class and discovered she was pregnant with Leo's child. I mean, what are
How?
the chances?
You just met your brother's your baby daddy's brother,
It
like,
was
what?
fate. Oh my God. She then convinced Brittany to go to Canberra with her, where they gave birth. But Brittany developed postnatal depression, and Nicolette spotted a chance to sell her baby on. Nicolette always planned on returning to Erinsborough, but needed time to get over Chloe's betrayal. And obviously, Nicolette wants to move on and create a new parenting agreement with David and Aaron.
Yeah.
They are not so forgiving, though. So Nicolette then reneges on her agreement to allow Aaron and David to be the primary caregivers to Isla. Paul then decides to launch a legal case. I mean, what leg does he have to stand on?
I know, right?
To gain custody of Isla for David and Aaron. There's so much more we can talk about here with these two. Abigail's mum dying and Leah getting custody of her,
Yeah.
the recent death of David. But yeah, with this family, we'd be here 4 hours.
Wow, literally, like, tell me about it. Like, these children have literally had so much happen to them in such, like, a short space of time. And
Yeah.
basically, all of them got kidnapped, didn't they, at some point?
Yeah. I mean, crazy. I mean, come to think of it, didn't the same happen to Hugo? He got kidnapped, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh my
Oh
God,
my
he did.
God. Children of Ramsey Street. Beware of the kidnappers.
Right. Yeah, beware of the kidnappers. Anyway, right. On that note, that is all we have time for. Thank you as always for joining us, and please do send us a message or voice note on our socials. We would love, love, love to hear from you.
Yeah, we do. Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.